Good afternoon, Phillies fans. Welcome into the PHOI Phillies podcast. What's going on, everybody? Tyler Zulli here. And a happy Friday afternoon to you. We have almost made it to the end of another week. And can this gloomy nonsense weather stop? What a tease that 80-degree weekend was, because I'm so tired of this, man. It's rainy, it's cold, it's dreary. All I want to do is sleep. But we can't, because we've got, as what they say in the Rugrats, responsibilities or whatever it was. We got responsibilities here at PHOI, and I'm sure you do as well. So thank you for hanging out with us today. I really appreciate you checking in once again. K-Red, INS, everybody in the chat. We've got a lot to get into and an hour-long podcast to do it in today. So why don't we jump right into things? The Phillies lose their first series of the year against the Atlanta Braves yesterday. They lose on a walk-off to Marcell Ozuna. They lose, in part, I think, because the bullpen has been tested over the last couple of nights. And I think the big takeaway from yesterday was more power to you if you stayed up for that game, because it's my job, and I went to bed. I'm not even going to lie to you. I checked in at 4 o'clock this morning to see what the final of the game was. It was a pretty quick search because I just watched Bozo Marcell Ozuna rounding the bases on a walk-off home run, and that was enough for me. The Phillies are 8-4, and it's been a weird couple of weeks because the Phillies view, or the Eagles' view of a Phillies season has clearly set in across Philadelphia. And I don't mean that you aren't allowed to be frustrated with the Phillies, because they're not perfect, right? There are things that are frustrating with this team. The bullpen depth is clearly in question. Your third baseman is struggling mightily. I'm not sure there is an everyday center fielder on this roster. There are things to be concerned about, no doubt about it. What I will say is they are 8-4. They've won 3 of the first series. They took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers. They swept the Rockies. They took 2 out of 3 from the Nationals. And they lost their first series of the year 4 series in. And there are, I think, there's more good to be talked about with this team than the bad. The unfortunate part is the bad people want to cling to. It's real, right? There are real things to discuss. And I think we're going to do that today. And there is one player in particular that I need to shout out, and I'm going to do that later in the show, because I think that one player in particular, and Corey Seidman tweeted about this player, and we'll talk more about him later in the show, I think is one of the most underrated signings the Phillies have made in a long time, and we'll talk more about him later. But let's talk about this weekend series, because I think that you could chalk up the Braves series to a couple of things, and it was pretty evident, right? They did a good job of getting to Chris Sale. Kyle Schwarber continues to just bully baseballs. And the bullpen struggled, and there was a botched play in center field that led to a Sean Murphy 3-run home run. It's the reason they lost game 1. Not the reason, but one of the reasons they lost game 1 was because of a botched play in center field, leads to a walk, leads to a 3-run home run. They go and retake the lead, and they end up squandering it because the bullpen struggles later in the game. The second game, they win, and I didn't have a ton to complain about in game 2. I thought that the start from the start from Taijuan Walker was good. So I do want to talk about that before we get to this weekend series. Taijuan Walker's given you 2 consecutive good starts. Now, he only went 4 2/3 because he labored a little bit more. He battled in this one. And I think the reason that he only ended up going 4 2/3 was because his command wasn't as good against the Braves as it was against the Rockies. We talked about it on last Friday, that the reason we tipped our cap to Taijuan Walker, and I still do, by the way, was because of the way that he went out and was aggressive against the Rockies. He had a ton of strike 1 against the Rockies. He didn't really fall behind to too many of the Colorado hitters. Now, I will say, when you're facing the Rockies versus facing the Braves, even with the Braves struggling to begin the year, I don't think anybody will tell you that the Rockies lineup plays in comparison to the Braves lineup, right? Even with the Braves struggling and still injured, the Braves have a far superior lineup to what the Rockies have. But what Taijuan Walker's done over the first two starts is give you 10 and 2/3 shutout innings. His velocity's up. His command has been better. He battled in the game against the Braves because he didn't have his best stuff and he didn't have his best command, but he worked out of a couple of tight jams, got you out of a bases loaded jam in the one inning, and then Jose Ruiz was able to get out of a second bases loaded jam. But I give Taijuan Walker credit for battling through the first two starts of the season. And what I give him credit for more than anything else is being a professional. Now, it's easy to say, hey, you're making $17 million a year or $18 million a year. Go be a pro, right? But I do think there's a human element to Taijuan Walker that I talked about after the start against the Rockies, and I think it's still relevant after the start against the Braves. Like, this guy, and rightfully so because his numbers stunk last year, this guy took a lot of flack from us as Phillies fans because he wasn't any good last year. His velo was down. His command stunk. The splitter stunk. He gave up a lot of runs, a lot of home runs, and he had a 7.1 ERA last year after coming back from the injured list. So, like, there was every right. You have every right to boo him and critique him and criticize him for the year that he had last year. But I will say, I give him a lot of credit for remaining a professional through it. And the story that was talked about a lot over the last couple of weeks was the game that he pitched late in August where the Phillies bullpen was spent and he was getting crushed and he was just getting torched. And he went to Rob Thompson and said, hey, keep giving me the ball. Listen, we're probably not winning this game, but I'm going to give you 6 innings, not good innings, but I'm going to give you 6 innings because I know the bullpen is short-staffed today. That's a pro's pro. That's a guy who understands the situation and understands his environment. And he took all of it he took all of this flack and criticism and jeers on the chin like a professional. And I give him credit for the way that he's come out and pitched in the first two starts. He's given you a chance to win. He did win last week against the Rockies, and he gave you a chance to win against the Braves. And so while I don't expect him to have this like magical return to, Diamondbacks Seattle, Taijuan Walker, resurgence, I do got to give the guy credit for pitching well and pitching above board and being a professional through his, the last couple of seasons. Because 2 years ago, we were giving him crap for taking to Twitter and saying, well, why did I not pitch in the playoffs? Well, Taijuan, you didn't pitch in the playoffs because you stunk. That's the long and short of it, is you weren't good in 2023 and you were worse in 2024. But the last 12 months of the year, or the last 12 calendar months, I have to give the guy a lot of credit because he's bounced back into being a professional and being a veteran. Probably easy to do when you make $18 million, but mentally, right, as a person, that's probably difficult. I have to imagine if you stink at your job, if I stink at my job and I sit and I take jeers the whole time, on social media or on the chat or whatever, I have to imagine it does become a little bit grating and draining for you. So to do what he's done over the first two starts, you get one of these, Taijuan Walker, tip of the cap to you. And then in the finale, Jesus Luzardo and Spencer Schwellenbach, two guys that I have been I've gushed over the last couple of weeks because I was super excited when they brought Luzardo in, and I was super bullish on Spencer Schwellenbach. By the way, I want to say that this show is brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So thank you to Bet365 for being our presenting sponsor. I was excited about yesterday's pitching matchup because it was two guys that strike a lot of hitters out, have done a really good job of making their stuff go from good to great over the last couple of years. And we've heard the story a billion times about how Spencer Schwellenbach was a shortstop in college and ended up, becoming a reliever because his team needed some arms. And now he's made himself into a really good, I think he's going to be a top of the line, top of the rotation type of starter. And both guys yesterday gave up a bunch of hits. I think there was 13 or 14 hits through the first 5 or 6 innings, but both guys battled. And the strikeout numbers were really good again for Jesus Luzardo. I can't say enough good about Jesus Luzardo because he has been better than advertised. I remember watching him 2 years ago in the starts that he would make against the Phillies and the random Marlins game that I catch here and there, where you go, man, power fastball, good changeup, that gyro slider, good stuff. Can't wait till this guy really hones it in and puts it all together. And he's hurt last year. The velo's down. The stuff, like the slider's not turning over at all. The changeup didn't have its same effectiveness. The numbers just weren't good last year. But Dave Dombrowski brought him in because you know he's got good stuff. And you know that you're hoping on a bounce back from Jesus Luzardo. And so far through the first 3 starts, that's what you've gotten. I tweeted this out yesterday from the station account, or from the beat account. I'll give you the exact numbers. Jesus Luzardo, through his first 3 starts as a Philly, has given you 18 innings, a 1.5 ERA, a 1 flat whip, and 25 strikeouts. I can't ask for much more than that. For a guy that was brought in to theoretically be like your 3, he's pitching more, or your 4 maybe, he's pitching more like a 1 or a 2 through his first 3 starts. And the addition of the sweeper, I have raved about a lot over the last couple of weeks. That sweeper is nasty, man. And he's able to throw the sweeper to lefties and the slider to righties, mix in each to the other handedness. Changeup's been good. Fastball velo's back up. Jesus Luzardo has been awesome through the first 3 starts. And I know they lost yesterday, but he's just been excellent through his first 3 starts. I can't ask for anything more from Jesus Luzardo through the first 3 starts. All right, let's turn our attention to this weekend's matchup. And I have to talk about Aaron Nola, because Aaron Nola gets the ball today for the Phillies. He has struggled through his first 2 starts. The Phillies have 4 losses. He has 2 of them. He's got a 6.35 ERA. He lost to the Nationals, and he lost to the Dodgers. I think the discord... Excuse me one second. Wow, that was gross. I apologize. Sorry I had to do that live on air. I think the discord surrounding Aaron Nola has become overblown. I think it's gone overboard at this point. There are things about Aaron Nola's game that I understand are very frustrating. The sheer amount of home runs that Aaron Nola allows is a lot, right? 32 in 2023, 30 last year. He led the National League. He's already given up 4 through his first 2 starts. Now, he's not going to give up 60-plus home runs, but the likelihood is Aaron Nola is probably going to trend towards giving up 30 home runs again this season. The home run numbers are real. I have always said about Aaron Nola, when he misses, he tends to miss in the zone. There are a lot of guys who miss out and away, who miss down and in. When they miss, and when a lot of power pitchers specifically miss, they're missing in spots. Maybe they're uncompetitive pitches, and sometimes that can frustrate you as well. But a lot of times when power pitchers miss, they're missing in spots that they're not going to get beat by getting barreled. They're not missing in spots where they're going to get beat by, giving up a long ball. Now, sometimes they do, right? They miss in the zone, but more times than not, like, power pitchers miss out of the zone. Finesse pitchers, like Aaron Nola, tend to miss in the zone. And so I think a lot of times when he tries to run the 2-seamer back, on the hands to a lefty, or run it back on the outer edge to a righty, if he misses with the 2-seam, instead of starting it off the outer black and running it to the corner, he starts it on the corner and then runs it back to the heart of the plate. When he hangs a breaking ball, now this could be said for any pitcher, when you hang a breaking ball, professional hitters are going to hit it a long way. Alex Vesia hung a slider to Nick Castellanos the other night. He took advantage. Teoscar Hernandez took advantage of a hanging breaking ball on Sunday and crushed a pitch out of the yard. Austin Riley took advantage of a hanging breaking ball in the game against Zach Wheeler. He hit it out of the yard. Professional hitters are going to hit hanging breaking balls out of the yard. So when Aaron Nola misses, he tends to miss in the zone as opposed to out of the zone. But I think the Aaron Nola vitriol has become really palpable, and it's strange to me for a guy who provides like ultimate consistency. And I don't think that Aaron Nola is an ace. I don't think that Aaron Nola will ever pitch to the way that he pitched in the 2018 season when he finished as the runner-up to the Cy Young. That was an anomaly season more than it was a consistency. But what Aaron Nola provides you, and I know people don't love to hear this, but what Aaron Nola provides you is a start every 5th day. What Aaron Nola provides you is 6 or 7 innings more times than not. What Aaron Nola provides you are the numbers as followed. Since 2020, he has the second most starts in Major League Baseball. Only Dylan Cease has made more. You know I'm not a WAR guy. I've talked about this a ton, but amongst qualified pitchers, he has the fourth best WAR. Only Zach Wheeler, Corbin Burns, Kevin Gausman have more. He has the most innings pitched. He has the most strikeouts. He has the fourth best strikeout to walk ratio and the ninth best walk rate amongst qualified starters. You have a right to criticize Aaron Nola when he struggles. I'm not taking that away from you. You have an absolute right to criticize anybody when they struggle. I think the one guy who's immune to criticism on this staff in one sample size start is Zach Wheeler, because he's been so darn good over the course of his career, and especially over the course of his tenure with the Phillies, that when he doesn't pitch particularly well, for example, he wasn't excellent against the Braves. He was fine. He didn't have his best stuff. He really had to labor. He was fine against the Braves. I think that's a one-off. I would expect Zach Wheeler tomorrow to dice up the Cardinals for 7 good innings or 6 good innings. But when Aaron Nola struggles, as he has the first 2 starts, you have every right to criticize the starts that he makes and the individual efforts that he has put together, because he hasn't been particularly good over the first 2 starts. But the reality of Aaron Nola's career has been far more good than it's been bad. Is Aaron Nola a 1? No, he's not. Is Aaron Nola a 2? Maybe not at this portion of his career. Maybe he's more like a 2B or a 3. But if your 2B or your 3 is giving you the numbers that I just provided, is giving you a career ERA, I believe it's something like 3.7 in his career, is giving you, 3.72, is giving you seasons since 2020 of 3.28, 3.25, and 3.57. And yes, he's had 2 bad years sprinkled in at 4.4 and 4.6. But he's had more ERAs in the 3s than he has in the 4s across the bulk of his career. He's now in season 11. He's won 104 games. And you know I'm not a huge wins or a pitcher stat, but he's won 104 games. He has struck out almost 1,800 hitters, and as I said, the most strikeouts since 2020. The model of consistency which Aaron Nola has provided you has been far more good than it has been bad. And as I said, if you want to criticize the start he made against the Nationals and the start he made against the Dodgers and be a little bit leery about tonight's start because the Cardinals have done nothing but score runs, that's well within your right. And I'm not going to take that away from you. But I think there's been almost this vitriol that is unfair. The discourse is fine. The vitriol gets overblown. And let me real quickly, before we hit our first break, let me tell you about his numbers against the St. Louis Cardinals. He's made 13 starts against the Cardinals in his career. He is 8-3 with a 2.56 ERA. It is the best ERA against any team that he has faced at least 10 times in his career. He has a 0.8 whip against the Cardinals in his career, and he's striking out over a batter per inning. Now, this is a different Cardinals team than it was last year. It's a different Cardinals team than he faced in the postseason in 2022 when the Phillies went to the World Series. I understand lineups change and rosters change all the time. But there is something to be said about feeling good about pitching against a specific team or facing a specific hitter or as a hitter facing a specific pitcher. And Aaron Nola has historically pitched well against the Cardinals. If I were to bet on Aaron Nola tonight, I think you're going to get a bounce back start from him tonight. I'm excited about tonight's start. I understand there's cautious optimism for me. There's probably just caution for a lot of people. But I think if there was a start to kind of like buck the trend of his first 2 starts, tonight might be a good one. And we know Aaron Nola pitches better in June and July and August than he does in April and May. Now, I'm not going to make that as an excuse. Like, baseball's played in April, and he pitches in a city that can be cold in April. It's not an excuse, but I think tonight, I'm looking forward to seeing a bounce-back performance from him tonight. All right, we're going to talk more about the Phillies series against the Braves and heading into the Cardinal series, and 2 players in particular that we're going to headline, 1 good and 1 bad, and we're going to do that in just a second. But before we do that, let me pause for just a moment and tell you about some of our friends here at PHOI. Let's start with our friends over at Empire today. Listen, your favorite team, your Fightins, love their home field advantage. We've seen it in October. We've seen it throughout the last couple of years. They love their home field advantage. And just like your Fightins have that home field advantage at CBP, your home needs the home advantage. This time, it's the home floor advantage. And that's what Empire Today can provide you. Because Empire Today are flooring experts. That's what they do. They do flooring Monday through Sunday, open to close. You may have gone to a big box store before and tried to get flooring. And the problem with big box stores when you try to get a specific thing is that big box stores do everything. And there's nothing wrong with doing everything, but they're not experts in anything. When if you do everything, you're not an expert in everything, in anything. And so you may deal with somebody who's good at their job, but they're not a flooring expert. They just work at the big box store. When you when you deal with Empire Today, that is what they do. They get you the best flooring possible to make your home look the best it possibly can be. Empire Today lives and breathes flooring, and they'll be with you every step of the way. It is an entirely different ballgame. Their flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick the right flooring and the right color for your space, whether it's carpet, tile, hardwood. They've got the experts in all of it to show your space to look the best. You can see how your flooring is going to look with your furniture in your house. You'll get precise measurements taken and have all of your questions answered, so there are no surprising. And one of the best things about Empire Today is that you're going to get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule your in-home estimate as soon as tomorrow. So head on over to EmpireToday.com. Schedule your free home estimate today because some things are just better at home. PHLY listeners can also receive a $350 discount when you use the code PHLY. So $350 at checkout when you use the code PHLY. Restrictions do apply. Visit EmpireToday.com/PHLY for full details. And let me tell you about our friends over at the Game Time app. I've been using the Game Time app now for 2 years. And in fact, my wife and I took our 5-month-old to his first Phillies game ever last week against the Rockies. And I used the Game Time app to buy our tickets because I was able to get last-minute deals and an incredible price and ended up getting to sit in the Hall of Fame Club because of it for a much better deal than I could have ever hoped for. So I logged on into the Game Time app the night before, scrolled through the best deals, and found one that worked best for us. We were able to get in the shade. We had awesome seats. We had awesome sight lines, and we were able to enjoy our 5-month-old first experience at Citizens Bank Park. And the reason that I use Game Time is not just because I know exactly what I'm going to pay with the upfront pricing, the clear, honest upfront pricing, but I also got a chance to see the seat view. Listen, at this point, I kind of know exactly where every section is at CBP, but I've also bought tickets over the last couple of years at Camden Yards. I've bought tickets at Nationals Park, and I'm less familiar with their section and seating, so I used the seat view map to tell me exactly where I was going to be sitting at those ballparks for the best viewing experience. So all you have to do to get involved with Game Time is download the Game Time app, and when you do that, if you use the promo code PHLY, you will get $20 off your first purchase. So download the app. Again, create an account, download the app, use the code PHLY, and get $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Use that code, get $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli here. Our podcast, as always, is brought to you by our friends over at Bet365, where it's never ordinary at Bet365. I want to say hello to everybody in the chat before we go any further. Elephant in the Room, INS, John Peace, K-Red, Molly and Barkley's Life. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in so far. A lot of Aaron Nola conversation going on. And John Peace, you're not wrong, right? Cold in October and November as well, right? You have to perform in the postseason. And I think Aaron Nola in the postseason has made some really good starts. He's also made some less than stellar starts. So I think back to the start against the Miami Marlins in the wild card round of 2023. 7 shutout innings, 3 hits, was really, really effective. And then in his start against the Diamondbacks in game 2, I think, of the NLCS, 6 innings, 3 hits, 7 strikeouts. He was really, really good in that start as well. Not so good in game 6 when the Phillies had a chance to close out the Diamondbacks at home to go and take a second straight World Series trip. He gave up 4 earned runs, 4 1/3, walked 2, gave up 2 home runs. And then last year, he wasn't particularly sharp in his start against the Mets either. He gave up 4 earned runs, only went 5 innings. Another start where he gave up 2 home runs. And listen, I think the discord for Aaron Nola's postseason appearances have basically been, does he give up home runs or does he not? He's made 6 starts in the postseason in which he has not surrendered a home run. In 4 of those 5 starts, he gave up 0 earned runs. 6 2/3 against the Cardinals, 0 earned runs. 6 innings against the Braves, 0 earned runs. 7 innings against the Marlins, and the 6 innings against the Diamondbacks, as I laid out, 0 earned runs. The only start in which he gave up earned runs, in which he didn't allow a home run, was his Game 4 start against the Houston Astros in the World Series. He has 3 starts in which he's given up 2 home runs in the postseason. 4 2/3, 6 innings. 4 2/3, 6 runs. 4 1/3, 5 runs. And then 4 1/3, 4 runs. And then last year, 5 innings, 4 runs. So as is kind of the case with Aaron Nola, more times than not, if he's able to limit the home runs to solo home runs, he's going to be successful. And in the postseason, when he keeps the ball in the yard, he's been extremely successful. He has a 4 ERA in the postseason, but he also has, again, 4 starts of no runs allowed when he gives up no home runs. Pretty straightforward, if you ask me. Let's talk now. Let's turn our attention, because we did spend a lot of time on Aaron Nola. Let's turn our attention to one guy who has really struggled, and that is Alec Bohm. Alec Bohm is currently hitting 160. He is 4 for his last 40. He has struck out 10 times this year in 50 at-bats. He's walked only 1 time. He has 1 extra base hit, and he's driven in just 3 runs. His slugging percentage is 180. Now, I am not asking Alec Bohm to be all-star level Alec Bohm like he was the first half of the season last year. I just need Alec Bohm to be better than he's been this year, and Alec Bohm to be better than than he was in the second half of the season when things really, really started to fall apart. The reason that I was confident in bringing Alec Bohm back was that I thought he would find a middle ground somewhere in between. And when Alec Bohm is thriving, what Alec Bohm does is go gap to gap. He's a doubles hitter. I don't expect him to hit more than 18, maybe 20 home runs in a season if he's got a good year in terms of pop. But what I do expect him to do is be a 30 to 35 doubles guy and drive runs in like he did last year. I expect him to hit about 275 and have a decent OBP, a solid slugging percentage with the doubles. And I expect him to play baseline defense with some upside. And I think his defense actually has been pretty good so far through 2025. But the weird thing about Aaron Nola is that his metrics are telling you one thing and your eyeballs are telling you another thing. So let's take a look at his metrics to tell you he's hitting the ball hard. He's squaring up the baseball. He's not whiffing a ton. He's hitting the ball hard. He's barreling the ball decently. His average exit velocity is good, right? His expected batting average is much better than his actual batting average is. So is he running into bad luck, or is he just not hitting? Well, I would tell you, and thank you, Joey, I appreciate it. We can take that down. I would tell you if he was hitting 220 or 230, maybe he's running into some bad luck. And the metrics tell you that he is, because he has hit the ball hard right at guys at times this year. But if he was hitting 220 or 230, I would tell you, man, he's run into a little bit of a string of bad luck. The expected average is 270 or 280. I expect him to come out of it. And I will preface this conversation by saying, of all of the Phillies bat hitters that are struggling, I would expect Alec Bohm to turn things around. I don't expect Brandon Marsh to turn things around. I just don't think he's that good of a hitter. I think that Alec Bohm is the guy that I could see making a turnaround, because I've seen him do it in the past. I've seen him go inferno hot and be ice cold. Now, I don't want another streaky hitter. I need Alec Bohm to be a more consistent hitter. But right now, I don't think the metrics are telling you enough to justify the 160 average that he's got. So I think 2 things can be true at once. I expect him to turn things around in some capacity. Maybe not be the hitter that he was in the first half of the year, but he has to be better than the 160 hitter that he is right now. But I don't think that the way that he's seeing the baseball right now lends itself to an immediate turnaround. And the reason behind that is because of 2 things. I am a big believer in if you're going to hit the ball hard, you're going to work yourself out of slumps. Sometimes you just get unlucky. Baseball is a game of inches. How many times have you heard people say that over the years? Baseball's a game of inches. And Alec Bohm probably is a few inches away from 4 or 5 extra hits. And that would raise his average up into like 240. And maybe we wouldn't be having this stark of a conversation about Alec Bohm. So sometimes you just want to play yourself out of a slump. And if you're hitting the ball hard and you hit a rocket right at a shortstop, right? Liner to the shortstop, liner to the third baseman, ball squared up, center fielder makes a good play in the gap. Nothing you can do about that. I will take hard hit contact over, the opposite of him hitting dribblers to the shortstop. And so like that tells me that I think that the slump bust could be coming. But right now, I think his numbers just aren't good enough to justify like, well, he'll simply hit his way out of it because he's hitting the ball hard. The results just aren't there just yet. And to me, the biggest problem is his plate selection. Not necessarily discipline, because he's not really having a time to be disciplined. He's not having enough time at the plate to be disciplined. Alec Bohm has always been an ambush type hitter. He's always been a guy that if you're going to throw him a first pitch strike, he's going to go after it. He's not interested in sitting around and working a count. He's not interested in sitting around and taking first pitch strike if it's there. He might not even think about taking borderline strike if it's there. He has always been an ambush hitter. And there's nothing wrong with that in time and place. There is something wrong with that when you are trying to protect Bryce Harper, or you're hitting in front of Bryce Harper and behind Kyle Schwarber, who sees a ton of pitches. Kyle Schwarber is the type of guy, when he ambushes, he's looking to put the ball out of the yard. And when you hit 38, 42, 46 home runs in a season, you can do that. When you're more of a gaps hitter, when you're more of a bat-to-ball contact type hitter like Alec Bohm is, I need you to see a couple more pitches. And he's right now just hasn't done that. Now, as I brought up about, seeing pitches in the zone, right? He's 54th across all of Major League Baseball in first pitch strike percentage at just under 65%, which means that pitchers are getting at him in the zone more times than they're not. 65% of the time, a pitcher is throwing him a first pitch strike. And whether he's going after it or not doesn't take away from the fact that they are pounding the zone more than average against Alec Bohm. So I have no issue if you're going to go after a good, viable pitch to ambush that type of pitch. Again, especially if Schwarber leads off and you're hitting second, Schwarber may have gotten on base via the walk, or he may have set the tone and hit a home run. And so you want to follow up. Totally okay with that. Let's say Bryce Harper, you're hitting fourth because it's the righty-lefty, or you're hitting third, it's righty-lefty, righty-lefty. You're hitting behind Bryce Harper. In that scenario, I need you to be a little bit more selective. I need you to be able to protect Bryce Harper because Harper's not getting a ton to hit right now, and rightfully so. If you give me the option of going up against Bryce Harper, especially if you're a right-handed pitcher, if you give me the option of going up against Bryce Harper, who's hitting 290 against righties, or I can get Alec Bohm, who's hitting 160 period, and a guy who's, swinging at the first pitch more times than not, I'm going to take that option. But it's a time and place thing for me. His first pitch swing percentage is nearly 40%. 4 out of every 10 at-bats, he's swinging first pitch. And quite frankly, my friends, that seems low. If you would have told me it was 50 or 55, I would not have been surprised. 40% this season seems low. But the number that really kind of does it in for me with Alec Bohm is the amount of pitches he's seeing per at-bat. Now, I want to give you a chance in the chat to make a guess here. A little group participation. On average, how many pitches per at-bat so far this year do you think Alec Bohm is seeing? And let me rephrase that. I'm sorry. Per plate appearance. So you can factor in the walks into this conversation. Now, for Alec Bohm, there's been one walk this year through the first 12 games. But let me ask you in the chat, how many pitches do you think per at-bat Alec Bohm is seeing. I'll give you a couple of seconds. And while we talk about it, I'm going to put things into perspective. Bryson Stott leads Major League Baseball with pitches per at bat. And I'm going to get into Bryson Stott in just a second because I think he's being unfairly criticized. Bryson Stott leads Major League Baseball seeing 4.98 pitches per plate appearance. So Bryson Stott's seeing almost 5 pitches every time he gets up to the plate. Pat, way too high. K-Red, getting closer. Elephant in the room. Feels that way. Too low. Alec Bohm is seeing 3.14 pitches per plate appearance. And as I said, Bryson Stott leads all of Major League Baseball just shy of 5. He's seeing 4.98. Among qualified hitters this season so far, Alec Bohm ranks 179th in pitches per plate appearance. There are exactly 3 guys who have seen less per qualified plate appearance. Jake Berger, Tommy Edman, Jacob Wilson. 178 guys in front of him, 3 guys below him. That's not good, friends. That's not good. I don't care if you're an ambush hitter. I don't care if you are somebody who is really, really good in the 0-0 count. Alec Bohm has been very good over the course of his career with his numbers on first pitch. Do not care. That's way too few. That is just way too few. So I was texting a buddy whose baseball opinion I respect enormously. Smart baseball guy. We don't agree on everything, but when we disagree, his baseball acumen gives me thought about why I disagree with him. His first response when I texted him was, who's below him, and is it Javi Baez? And the sad part, so Javi Baez doesn't qualify because he only has 29 plate appearances so far this year. But the sad thing is, Javi Baez is seeing more. And I'm going to pull it up on my phone just to get the exact number. Javi Baez is at 3.62 pitches seen per plate appearance. Again, not enough. He's only seen 29 compared to Bohm's 51. But that just puts it into perspective. Mr. Swing at literally everything, Javi Baez, is seeing 3.62. And now maybe that's because his whiff rate is atrocious and he's, needs a boat or a paddle to swing at certain pitches. But that puts it into perspective that Alec Bohm's just not seeing enough pitches. And so I think 2 things or multiple things can be true at once here. Alec Bohm, I do think will bounce back. I do think we'll see a resurgence in Alec Bohm in the next couple of weeks. I just think he's too good of a hitter, and quite frankly, any major league hitter is too good, for the most part, to hit 160. Now, does a bounce back mean he gets to 220? Does it mean he gets to 250? I think it's outside of the realm of possibility to ask for 280, right? The 275, 280 that he hit last year, or whatever it came out to be. But if he can get to 240 right now, the way that he's currently hitting, I'll take that as a win. Because last year, he hit 280. He has hit 274 or better in each of the last 3 years. I'm not sure he's going to get to that this season just because, it's been such a rough start. Now, I'm not saying he can't bounce back. He's only in 51 plate appearances, and he's had over 550 in each of the last 3. But right now, I'm asking him to get to 240. And we'll go from there once he gets there. I do think a resurgence is coming, but I also think that he needs to see more pitches. I think his plate approach is all out of whack right now. So Alec Bohm's frustrating to a lot of people right now, and I totally understand why. And we'll talk more about Alec Bohm throughout the rest of the season probably, because the trade conversations were there in the offseason. I was vehement about him being back because of the money and his ability and, being team controlled for another season with arbitration. But I think there's viability to the fact that the team is probably really frustrated with him right now. All right, we are going to go to a positive because the Phillies are 8-4. And one guy in particular has been amazing since joining the Phillies. But before we do that, let's pause and tell you about some of our friends here at PHOI. Yeah, and our presenting sponsor today is Bet365, and I want to tell you about our friends over at Bet365 because whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365. They have 90 million users worldwide, and for good reason. They live stream 780,000 events each year across 78 sports. Whatever you want to get in on the action, you can do it. It's not just the big four or soccer or whatever it is. You can get in on everything, whether it be college or pro sports. You can get in on all the action with Bet365. And the best thing about Bet365, when you watch those live streams, you can live in-game because Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting. Lines change all the time, and you can get in on the latest and most updated action across Bet365's wide landscape of betting. And new customers right now have the opportunity to get in with a $150 bonus bet when you bet just $5. So whether you win or lose, all you have to do is sign up, use the code PHOY365, bet your first $5, and get $150 in bonus bets whether you win or lose. And you can use those bonus bets on anything from totals, spreads, player props, futures bets, and so much more. And that is why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let me tell you about one of our newer friends here at PHLY, and that is our friends over at Monarch Money. Listen, saving money is difficult. I'm not going to get into too much of the socioeconomic landscape of the world right now, but you know. And saving money can be very difficult, especially saving money for things like retirement and buying a home and paying off your student loans. And all of those things are really, really difficult. So monetary tracking is important. You don't want to overspend. You don't want to over budget. And that's where our friends over at Monarch Money come in, because they act like your personal CFO and they give you full visibility and control so you can stop just earning and start growing, because it's more than just your average budgeting app. They have a complete financial control center for all of your accounts, your investments, and all of your goals. So listen, if you think about tracking your money because you want to save for a home, or you're thinking about how's your 401k looking over the last week or so, how's your savings account or your retirement plan, whatever you're thinking about, it's never too early to start worrying about your tracking and your spending habits to make sure that you're lined up for the best financial success. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. They are the top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with over 30,000 five-star reviews. So get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code PHLY at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the promo code PHLY. Welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to us by our friends over at Bet365, where it's never ordinary at Bet365. Yeah, K-Red, that was my nicest way to put it. You know, that's all I'm going to say, because I am not qualified to talk about the financial landscape of the world right now, other than, But welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Again, thanks for everybody for checking in. Markel Futz, Elephant in the Room, K-Red, Pat Ryan, Molly and Barkley's Life. Really appreciate all of you. Molly and Barkley's Life, great segue there, because they say, I see us getting another late inning reliever by the trade deadline. And I wholeheartedly agree that the Phillies are going to be getting some semblance of a reliever between now and the trade deadline. And I don't necessarily think it's going to happen anytime soon. Now, John Marks was saying a couple of times over the last week or so that, trades just don't happen at this time. And it's funny because a trade did happen. 2 days ago, in fact, the Braves went out and acquired a back of the bullpen reliever in Rafael Montero from the Houston Astros. Now, the Astros are weird because I think the Astros recognize the writing on the wall that their core as they knew it over the last decade, the one that went to like 7 consecutive ALCSs and won a pair of World Series, is pretty much gone, right? Jose Altuve has had to move to left field to remain in the starting lineup every day. His bat's still there, but I think the defense is, started to falter a little bit. Kyle Tucker is gone. Yordan Alvarez is still a machine, but I think that Alex Bregman is gone. Obviously Garrett Cole has moved on for a while now. Justin Verlander is gone. Their pitching core has changed, and as have their has had their starting lineup. But the Astros did move Rafael Montero, who was making a pretty good amount of money. On the final, I think he's on the final year of his deal. He might be on, might have 2 more. But the point is, a trade ironically did get made. But John is right. It doesn't typically tend to happen until later in the season. And the addition of extra wildcard teams over the last couple of years have told other teams that they're in the mix, right? You're 500, you're just below. You can make a move. You could stand pat. You don't need to sell. And you can make a run for the 3rd wildcard spot. And you never know what happens once you get in. We've seen wildcard teams over the last couple of years make a deep run in the postseason. The Phillies did it in 22. The Diamondbacks did it in 23. Get hot at the right time, see what happens, right? And so there's less incentive to move players, especially early in the season, pre-June specifically. So I think the Phillies kind of are where they're at right now with their bullpen, and they're going to try to stay afloat with it until a trade market opens itself up. Or, you're thinking about a player that got DFA'd and is on a minor league deal, or somebody that opted out of their minor league deal type of situation. But this brings me to my point, my conversation for one guy that has been really, really good since joining the Phillies. And that is somebody that I have raved about in Matt Strahm. Now, Corey Seidman tweeted this, I believe, yesterday about Matt Strahm, and it's really, really appropriate. So, Joe, if you could show the graphic here about, you could show Corey Seidman's tweet. Corey Seidman from NBC Sports Philadelphia tweeted this. Corey does an awesome job. Says, Matt Strahm as a Philly, just over 155 innings, a 2.6 ERA, sub-1 whip, 11 strikeouts per 9. This stat is insane. If you round down with every threshold, hold on, if you could bring that back up for just 1 second, Joe. If you round down with every threshold that he lays out, there's one other pitcher who qualifies, and it's Paul Skeens. That is absurd. So I wanted to go back and think about Matt Strahm's time as a member of the Phillies. The Phillies made 5 free agent signings, and you're good, Joe, now. Thank you. I appreciate it. The Phillies have made 5 free agent signings in 2023, major league free agent signings. Trey Turner was the big one. He signed for $13 and $300 million. The second most money they gave out was Taijuan Walker. He signed for 4 years and 72. Craig Kimbrell and Josh Harrison each signed 1-year deals. Kimbrell for 10, Harrison for 2. And then they went out and got Matt Strahm. Matt Strahm signed a 2-year deal worth $15 million. And as Corey laid out, the numbers have been sensational for Strahm since joining the team. He's since signed an extension with the Phillies for another $7.5 million this year and a club option next year for just $4.5 million. Now, there is a vested signing bonus, like kicker, if you will, in his contract for next year, that 4.5 goes to 7.5 if he pitches more than 60 innings this year. And Matt Strahm is going to pitch more than 60 innings this year. He's done it both years. Now, he did start a couple of games in 2023, so he was up towards almost 90 innings. But last year, I think he did also clip that 60-inning mark by about 3 innings. Matt Strahm has been unbelievable for the Phillies since joining the team. And what I love about Matt Strahm, and pardon, I'm going to say this in the nicest way that I can. He's just got fortitude, man. He's got it. He's got stones. Because Matt Strahm doesn't throw all that hard. 91, 92 from the left side. Doesn't have a wipeout slider. Doesn't have a devastating changeup. Just goes after guys. Willingness to throw to lefties. Willingness to throw to righties. He has just been so unbelievably good for the Phillies since joining the team. And as Corey points out, numbers are just off the charts. He never posted a sub-1 whip with any of the teams that he played for in his 7 seasons prior to joining the Phillies. His best career whip with any team was 1.16 with the San Diego Padres. He's gotten better each of his, stops along the way. A 5 ERA, then 2 out of 3 really good years with the Padres, but 2 really bad years with the Padres. Signs with Boston, 3.8 ERA. The Phillies take I don't want to say a chance on him, but took somewhat of a risk in bringing him in for $7.5 million. And everybody's got their guy. Everybody's got the guy that when the team makes a signing, and it doesn't have to just be the Phillies, but whatever team that you like truly root for, whatever team, the team makes a signing and you go, I like that move. That's an underrated move. That's a signing that's going to pay dividends for the Phillies. And I am a big proponent of admitting when you're wrong and having honest conversations about when you're wrong. Because I've gotten things wrong about a lot of guys over the years. Sometimes you get to gloat when you're right, too. The minute the Phillies signed Matt Strahm, I went, that's a hell of a signing. This guy is going to be better than what we think he is. I couldn't have told you in my wildest imagination that he was going to post a 1.80 ERA last year, make an all-star team, and through 7 outings so far, not have given up an earned run and only allowed 5 base runners. He has struck out more than 11 per 9 every single season he's been with the Phillies. I couldn't have told you in my wildest imagination that Matt Strahm was going to be this good. He has been so darn good for the Phillies. So what I did was go back and take a look at some of the other guys that signed contracts that were similar to Matt Strahm's over that span, that 2023 offseason. But before I do that, we are behind on sales, and I want to pause for just a second because I do want to tell you about some of our friends here at PHOI, and then we'll continue our conversation on Matt Strahm. Yep, sorry to backload our ads like this, but I do have to tell you about 2 more of our friends here at PHOI, and I'm going to start with our friends at GLAT Hair Restoration. I guess that's a tease, if you will, but hang with me for the finale of the Matt Strahm conversation. I'm not the right person to tell you about GLAT just yet. Maybe I'm trending in that direction soon, but I do work with John Marks each and every morning from 8 to 9, and as I've gotten to know him over the years, one thing he is super, super passionate about is the hair restoration process that he got with GLAT. But the thing about GLAT is they're not just going to, force feed you to hair restoration. They're going to treat you like you. They're going to treat you like a person. You're not a number. You're not a bill. You are you. So John got to go in and be John. He got to talk about his situation, how his hairline's looking, what's receding, what needs to be done. And they made the decision that hair restoration was good for him. But you may not need it just yet. You're just starting to feel a little bit worried. Maybe you're thinning. Maybe the widow's peak is coming through a little bit more. Kind of what I'm dealing with right now. You can see it, right? It's starting to recede a little bit, but I'm not there just yet. So maybe if I went on over to GLAT, they would tell me non-invasive treatments, TED treatments, right? Whatever the case may be, they're going to walk me through what a procedure would be for me. And they're going to do that for you as well, just like they did for John. GLAT has been restoring and defending hairlines for over 30 years, so it's no surprise that they have the reputation that they do. But it's not just about that one-on-one care. They're going to give you follow-up care as well. They provide cutting-edge hair treatment and hair loss prevention, medications, and so much more. So if you would like more information and you're ready to defend your hairline today, visit GLATHairMM.com, or you can call 610-980-4000 to get started. Parx Casino, my hometown casino of choice. Been telling you about them for a while. Won't stop telling you about them because it's literally my hometown casino of choice. Maybe I'll find myself there over the next couple of weeks because they have awesome shows at the Excite Center each and every week. And what I love about the Excite Center is that it provides you unbelievable upscale production value, lighting, sound, an awesome show, but it's a little bit more of a personal feel. Smaller venue, no bad seat in the house. You're going to have a great sight line of every single seat in the house with our friends over at Parx Casino and the Excite Center. As I'm sure you hear with Anthony each and every morning, and VG and Andrew like to serenade you with their incredible voices. Some of the great acts that are coming to Parx and have come to Parx over the last couple of weeks include Live is coming in the next couple of weeks. Clutch is a show that I've got lined up, but it's not just music. It's comedy acts and all of the great entertainment that can be provided to you over at the Excite Center. But it's not just about shows. You can play awesome games like roulette, cards, dice games, and so much more. And if you don't feel like heading on over to Parx, you can do it on the Bet Parx Casino app. You can play all of the games right from the comfort of your couch. Parx Online Casino has all of the games, whether you're at home or you're on the go. And we were talking about some of the slots you can play. They have some amazing movie-themed slots like Goonies, TV show slots like Breaking Bad. You can get all of the action right at Parx Casino and on the Bet Parx Casino app. Must be 21 and physically located in Pennsylvania. Download the Bet Parx app and create an account today to receive an offer that you can't pass up. You'll get $1,000 or up to $1,000 back in eligible bonuses if you are down in the first 24 hours. Bet Parx Online Casino is available in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, and Michigan residents. Terms and conditions do apply. Parx Casino, this is how you win. Again, must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Just a couple minutes left as we wrap up this conversation about Matt Strahm. So I said that I went and got a couple of other players that comped to Matt Strahm's contract when he signed. And we're going to take a look at what they've done since Matt Strahm joined the Phillies. The first guy, and it was a guy that I wanted the Phillies to sign when he was a free agent that offseason, was Adam Ottavino, a guy that I think has always thrown a really good slider. His stuff has clearly diminished over time, but he signed for two years and $14.5 million, just short of what Matt Strahm signed with the New York Mets. He was really good in 23, posted a 3.21 ERA, but he struggled in 2024 and had a 4.34 ERA and a near 1.3 whip. The Mets didn't re-sign him. He ended up hitting free agency. The Yankees have re-signed him, and he's been DFA'd like 12 times over the last couple of weeks, right? I kid, it's really been twice, but he has been DFA'd and picked back up a couple of times by the Yankees. His stuff has really kind of diminished. Meanwhile, I think Matt Strahm has really flourished in his role as a high leverage setup type of guy, can close a game if you need him to, really ballsy against lefties and righties. And I think if I'm looking back on it, as good as Ottavino was in 2023, this is a no-brainer. I would have taken Matt Strahm, and I still would take Matt Strahm. Trevor Williams signed a 2-year, $13 million deal with the Washington Nationals. Now, he's a starter, but he was terrible in 23. He had a 5.55 ERA in 2023 and gave up 34 home runs. He's the reason that Aaron Nola didn't lead the National League in home runs allowed in 2023. Now, he was better last year, but he only made 13 starts, and he's not been very good through the first couple of starts in 2025. Seems like a clear and obvious, and I know you got it's a starter versus a reliever. It's not exactly the same, but Matt Strahm clears all day long. The final guy is Luke Jackson. He signed a 2-year, $11.5 million deal with the Boston Red Sox. Now, he was really good in 2023, like really good in 2023. He posted a 1.05 ERA for the Red Sox in 23. He was good in 24, but a natural regression was bound to happen. He had a 3.5 ERA in 24. Now, he did not re-sign with the Red Sox. Instead, he signed a $5.5 million one-year deal with the Texas Rangers. Now, Chris Martin's been excellent. Excuse me, I just messed things up. I apologize. I was just giving you Chris Martin's numbers. Luke Jackson we'll get to in a second. Chris Martin is the guy. Now, I just kind of buried the piece of this, but he's the guy that I think is most comparable to Matt Strahm over the last 2 years. So let's take this back for a second. Chris Martin, 2 for 13.5, 1 ERA in 23, 3 ERA in 24, signs with the Texas Rangers in 25. Been really good so far out of the gate for the Rangers. Luke Jackson, meanwhile, 2 for 11.5 with the Giants. He was good in 23 as well, posted a 2.9 ERA. He was awful in 2024, ended up getting traded to the Braves at the deadline. He wasn't good for them either, and then signed in Texas, ironically enough, signed with the Rangers as well. He's got a 4.5 ERA so far through the first couple of games. So the point is, of the 4 guys or so, there's probably about 6 or 7, but these 4 guys that I headlined, 3 of them, I would take Matt Strahm over. Chris Martin has been really good for both Boston and has pitched well for Texas. He's the guy that you would consider, comping, right? But Chris Martin ends up not signing with Texas or not signing with Boston and signs with Texas. So I think value-wise, the Phillies continue to have Matt Strahm pitch well. Boston wasn't able to retain Chris Martin. I think there's some value there. So the point of this whole conversation was Matt Strahm has been so darn good for the Phillies since he signed here in 2023. And that is just about going to wrap up our show for today's proceedings. I didn't get a chance to talk about the impending CBA that's up next year. Maybe we'll do that on Monday or next Friday. But there is real value or real conversation to be had about the potential of a lockout after the 2026 season. But a big thank you to Joey for producing today's show. A big thank you to everybody in the chat. Pat Ryan, INS, Elephant in the Room, K-Red, Molly and Barclays Life, Markel Futz, everybody that was in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you. If you would not mind, before you head on out of here, drop a like, leave a comment in the chat about Matt Strahm's performance, about Alec Bohm's performance, and enjoy this weekend's series against the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll be back on Monday live at 1 o'clock for a half an hour to break down the series against the Cardinals and start to look ahead to next week's series. I know they play the Marlins at the end of the week. I don't remember who they're playing in the beginning of the week, but we'll break down the series against the St. Louis Cardinals. Tonight, 8:15, Aaron Nola gets the ball for the Phils. He'll be opposed by Andre Palante, and we'll talk more about it. Zach Wheeler and Christopher Sanchez get the ball to wrap things up over the weekend. So we'll check back in with you right here on PHLY Monday, 1 o'clock. Have an amazing weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
We all silly like the mayor.